Hello gamers and welcome to another exciting edition of Game Warp. I'm Elwood.
I'm Kim.
And this is 2018 in review. 2018 was something of a mixed bag compared to previous years. We had some exciting releases and at the same time we had some disappointments along the way. Obviously, most notably, Days Gone was pushed back into 2019. Division 2 also for 2019, and maybe at some point we may also see Crackdown 3 finally get a release. But we certainly got lots of trailers for it in 2018, so... But, I mean, starting off with just the gaming side of 2018, I mean, how's gaming been for yourself, Kim, in 2018?
I think that the main thing for 2018 was really... I feel like we didn't play enough 2018 releases. Based on, like our top 10 we talked about is, there were a lot of 2018 titles that we covered, which was more indie titles. So we had like Double Kick Heroes, which got into the early access, and some of like Forza Horizon was also really impressive. I mean, I think we played some fairly okay, like we played some really good titles, and then we played some kind of disappointments, right? I feel like that was how I reflect on our gaming this year, was kind of how it reflected on how I felt about the releases this year as well.
Yeah, I mean, obviously starting off in January, we saw many re-releases this year. It seems to be a running theme for this year that we saw re-releases throughout the year. I mean, first off, we obviously had Kerbal Space Program getting an enhanced edition for both Xbox One and PlayStation 4. Still a really surprising game that we still have people really into it, especially because you think it's one that would be more for the PC crowd. Just the fact you have to sit there and work out how to build rockets, and yeah, it still has this weird cult following on the consoles, and it's constantly surprising me the more games that we're seeing that you would be more suited to like the PC crowd still finding an audience on the consoles. And I think it's only a matter of time before we finally see the return of the mouse for the consoles. So maybe something for 2019.
Yeah, and then another, I think most of the, other than re-releases, was a lot of like old games being ported to Switch. That was like a really big thing that happened throughout the entire year. I think a lot of indie games got ported to Switch, and that's a lot of stuff. I mean, Fury kicked off this year for Switch, obviously, and that's a pretty fun game if you haven't played it yet. I haven't finished it. It's pretty challenging. It's a really cool one, and I'm glad to see it still being noticed and being ported.
Oh, definitely. I feel that Nintendo have finally decided to, with the Switch, to make up for a lot of the mistakes they made with both the Wii and the Wii U, in the fact that they had a lot of games that were outside of their sort of canon of characters, like your Mario and the Zelda and that. All the games that they were putting out were sort of like real bizarre family games, like carnival games, and it was sort of like, as a hardcore game, it's sort of like, well, I can't get excited about this. And now we obviously have the Switch, which is such a wonderful piece of kit, and we finally got our hands on one here in the office finally this year, so we will be doing more Switch reviews in 2019. But to now see them going down the independent route and picking up titles such as This War of Mine, Spin Tire's Mud Runner has recently been added to their catalogue as well, so it's great. We're seeing lots of great indie titles going across the Switch, and I think it really suits the handheld part of the Switch, and the fact that these games are so great to play on the go. They're very pick up and play, and that perfectly suits the model that you have with the Switch, in the fact that it's not only a home console, but it's also a portable console as well. And them picking up more independent titles and certainly putting them out as complete editions is certainly something that's very welcome, and something I'm really looking forward to seeing more of when we move into 2019.
Yeah, and plus, like, I think the Switch has another perk, is that it's really, like, suitable for co-op gaming, and that, like, a lot of couch co-op gaming and stuff, and I think that it really is suitable for the current state of gaming, where, there's a lot of co-op games that are really focused right now on multiplayer and such. But, I mean, January had a few really good titles. Obviously, one of the showstoppers at most of the award shows this year was Celeste, which broke out It's kind of like a hardcore game where you have a little girl jumping through all these dangerous traps and stuff like that. But it's very interesting, the story. I had watched some playthroughs of it, and it's one that I definitely want to pick up and try, even if it's going to take me so long to play through. And obviously, we also had The Inpatient on PSVR, which came out, which is the prequel of Until Dawn. We were just playing Until Dawn at that time, I think, when it released, like right before it released. And then I think another notable title which took over, I think, most of the year, I think a lot of people are still playing it, is Monster Hunter World.
Yeah, Monster Hunter World, a huge sandbox. It's perhaps still not the hand-holding title that I think a lot of newcomers to the series would want. It still expects you to either figure things out for yourself or to go out there and sort of learn these things just by playing around with ideas. But certainly Monster Hunter World is probably one of the most beginner-friendly titles in the long-running series, and it was great to see it living up to the promise that we saw, because a lot of people were excited when we were looking at its releases back at like E3, when we were seeing those cool trailers and that, and to have a big sprawling sandbox title that lives up to its potential, especially with a big franchise like the Monster Hunter franchise. It's really sort of coming to its own with this title, so definitely good to see Monster Hunter World living up to that. But no, Celeste, I mean, it's another of those massacre titles that seem ever so more popular since like Dark Souls made money, and obviously we've seen with Bloodborne, and obviously now with Celeste moving into the platform genre. So I don't know, I feel that 2019 we're going to probably see more of these titles because people do love them. I personally don't get the appeal of having your ass handed to you like on the first level repeatedly, but you know,
I can get a good level of it. I don't play these in big doses, but I like the fact of the challenge that it gives you, and the success and the victory you feel when you pass through a certain level and get through that part. Obviously, the reason why I don't finish a lot of these games is because my skills has a top off point, and usually when I hit the top off point, I just stop and I can't get further. But yeah, any other titles that caught your eye in January, or?
No, I think that sort of rounds it up, but certainly when we move into February now, we're starting again to see more re-releases, especially on the Switch. The Switch, in around February, we sort of started seeing the first inklings of Nintendo's like great unannounced plan, where they're basically going to re-release every Wii U title to basically try and claw back any money they can off that failed console. Obviously, first off the bat was Bayonetta 1 and 2, getting a Switch release, and we got a lot of hints about what's coming up for Bayonetta 3 when we looked at like E3 and the Video Game Awards as well. So I'm excited to see what's going on with Bayonetta. I think it's a great series, and it's weird the fact that they've chosen the Switch, though, of all consoles, to sort of make its home. But it's a series that I'm really interested in to see where it goes. So it goes into its third episode now.
Yeah, and then another big release was, of course, Shadow of the Colossus, which a lot of people are really looking forward to see the remake and just how beautifully polished it looks compared to the PS2 release. That was a really big title. I think a lot of people are really interested in that one. There were some other titles that, as I'm looking through the list, that I don't really know, and I haven't really looked into much of it. PSVR had Moss that came out near the end of the month, and then in the middle month we finally got Fee that came out as EA Originals, which is the first EA Originals that was announced, and we were really excited to play that. I'm hoping to be able to play that next year at some point.
Completely agree with yourself. I mean, Fee's very exciting. I think anything that Microsoft Originals have got on their schedule at the moment, every time they announce something, it sort of like gets added onto the pile of games that we really want to play. And I'm really excited to see where they continue to go. I think Microsoft are really sort of finally finding their stride after a long time being in PlayStation shadow. PlayStation really sort of nailed down their exclusives really early with the PlayStation 4, and now Microsoft, with like the likes of the Game Pass and how they're working their exclusive titles, they're really sort of coming into their own. I think their independent wing is only just sort of another exciting aspect of Microsoft, and I'm just, as I said, I'm really excited to see how they continue to obviously build on that one. So into March again. I think that this whole year is just, there's a lot of re-releases round, and I have to ask you, Kim, I mean, how do you feel when we get these repolished titles, such as we had like Wipeout and we had Crash Bandicoot, and now, as you said already, we had Shadow of the Colossus, again, another really big title that's been remade, and we're seeing the Yakuza games also getting remade with like the Kiwami games. So with these repolished remakes, I mean, how you sort of find it? I mean, I'm personally excited. I mean, not only the fact that I'm getting a repolished game of a game I really love, and I factored out to pay traders stupid prices to replay these games, but the fact that they're still maintaining the gameplay, all they're doing is to clean up the graphics, which is always nice, but at the same time often leaving in the frustrating bugs, as we saw with Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah, but I think, like, for Crash Bandicoot, I actually thought it wasn't a bug. I think they just intended for it to be like that, because there are people who play this, like, straight the way that it's supposed to, and then, you know, there's people like me who do the hacking way to do it, and then that works better because at least I can get through the level. No, I like the releases. I mean, I'm really happy to see that near at the end of the year that we're talking about, like, as of now, just released with Spyro, obviously. I'm a big fan of Wipeout. I'm a big fan of, you know, Crash, obviously, from the year before, and all that sort of stuff. I'm excited. It's just sometimes there's that hesitation of re-picking up the games, even if it's, you know, at kind of a more discounted price.
Yeah.
I have a hesitation of picking up a game that to play again, especially when it comes to, like, if it was, like, say, ported to, I don't know, Switch or something, then that might be interesting, especially if it's a game that, you know, you got for free on PS4 or something like that, or games for gold or PS Plus free games or something like that. And then you want to play something on the go, then that really helps because, you know, it's a portable thing. You can actually play it a lot more frequently, and it really helps. But, I mean, for other games, I think it's a good idea because it includes everybody in, you know, like, in the thing, and it gives you a really nice experience of something that you really love. But there really is only a few games in my mind that if they polished, I would pick up a polished version.
Obviously, in terms of new releases, we had Far Cry 5, first of the big releases for the year, and it was one of the tempos of previous year's E3, and it was good to see that one living up to the hype. Also really fun to see the fact how new the references that they included in it. Like, we had references to it, we had random Sasquatch attacks, we had people being chased by bears, all the things that we kind of love in that one. And I think it's nice to see the fact they're constantly building on these Far Cry games. Really, since Far Cry 3, they've just really sort of come into their own of knowing how to make them. Another exciting title that we got really excited about and is still yet to play was A Way Out.
Yeah. Well, that's something that we're definitely ironing out, and that's definitely going to happen next year for us. You know, we do have that whole time zone issue that a lot of that we have to deal with. So, but I mean, other than that, I mean, one of the first big Xbox exclusives was out, and that was Sea of Thieves, the multiplayer game experience. I don't know. I haven't played it. Have you?
I've not played it. I mean, it's free on Game Pass, and I know I keep hearing very mixed reports from it, and certainly when I'm looking at the game, I think since it was announced at E3, it's not one that sort of grabs me, but I think it was the same time had the difficulty of the fact that you had that being announced, and at the same time, over on the Ubisoft show, we had Skull and Bones being announced, which is obviously due for release in 2019, and it was sort of like, I kind of want to play the Assassin's Creed style one instead of this kind of Overwatch styled pirate game where it just seems like you and your friends sort of like running around and not really achieving anything. So it's like games with a clear quest, not just, oh, run around, do what the hell you want. Gotta give me something to do.
Yeah, and talking about Ubisoft, this month also, like in March, it also brought South Park: The Fractured But Whole, which is something that I know you were really eager to play.
Yeah, I mean, South Park: Fractured But Whole, it built on Stick of Truth, and the fact that South Park managed to not only produce a great RPG game, they also produced a great mobile game with Phone Destroyer. Again, was a game that I sunk quite a few hours into, and we got the review up on both our blog and thatmountain.com. And you want to see what I made of that?
We'll put the link. We'll put the link in the description below.
Yeah, I think the fact that South Park Fractured But Whole, it came out obviously a little later than expected, but the wait was certainly well worth it. There's a lot of hidden sort of features in there. and they've really sort of built it up nicely from the previous game. Obviously, this time taking on superheroes. And I think if you like South Park, you'll probably like that one. If you don't like South Park, I don't think you will like that one.
It's the unique humor, I think, of South Park, which makes it more, I guess, a little bit more like very selective of the audience that watches it, I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, again, for Nintendo Switch, we saw more independent titles with the, obviously, Don't Starve being transported across. Don't Starve was a game that I first got to play for the first time with myself and Kim sat down and played a few games of Don't Starve, and yeah, I really enjoy the Tim Burton-esque world of Don't Starve. So if you have not discovered it yet, definitely check it out. It's even more fun if you're playing with someone who knows what they're doing.
Well, it's also nice to see that Don't Starve really actually, like, they keep having, like, DLCs and stuff like that come out, so it's still, like, a work in progress while the team is still producing new games.
Yeah.
So it's really nice to have that sort of thing. But I think in March, one of the last titles I do want to talk about is The Council, which is a narrative adventure, kind of like episodic experience. It recently had its complete edition released in December. All 5 episodes was released. This was by Big Bad Wolf, and it's set in 1793. And you're a member of the secret society, and there's like intrigue and manipulation and all that sort of stuff. You know, things right up my alley. I'm really looking forward to play this one. I'm hoping that, you know, it'll come at a really lovely price at one point and I'll be able to pick it up.
Moving into April now, again, another busy month. We saw the release of the Nintendo LABO, which it seems problematic from what I've seen. Certainly watching John Carpenter get angry at the LABO as he tried to play the Halloween theme on the piano was probably one of my highlights of the year, just watching the old man get angry at the new technology. But as if sort of the actual proper gaming side of things, you obviously had Yakuza 6, Song of Life come out. A lot of people very excited about that, and it's nice to see that series still continue to go from strength to strength. And with each new console, they continue to grow these worlds like GTA. So while it's continues to sort of fill that void left by Shenmue, obviously Shenmue 3 coming out later, I believe it's next year, start of next year, Shenmue 3 will be out. So it'd be obviously interesting to see how it holds up. Now we've obviously had all these Yakuza games in the meantime, but
the biggest title I think was God of War. It came out on April 20th. That was probably arguably the biggest title for that month because most of the other stuff was ports. There were also, obviously, we reviewed Double Kick Heroes, which got their early access in April as well. Hellblade got on Xbox One. There was, there was also we played Extinction, which was an okay experience. The idea was good, but the execution not so much. And then there was a lot of really cool indie games that came out, I think. Obviously, there was one that was mentioned. I'm not sure. It was one of the awards, probably the BAFTA or something, which had Minute. They talked about Minute, which is this little game which you have to do certain quests within, like, a minute, and then it kind of, like, resets or something. I'm not sure. I haven't really tried it yet. There's, like, a free version on itch.io, I think. And then, obviously, after that, there was... One of my highlights was 39 Days to Mars, which is a game that I recently started playing with the Stunt Gamer, as it's a co-op gaming experience. And that one's really fun. It's about, like, 2 guys who, silly as hell, are trying to build a spaceship to go to Mars. And, it's a really hilarious experience, especially when there's a lot of, like, talking about, like, how to do certain things, and one person controls the one part and then the other person controls the other part and stuff like that. And it's a really entertaining experience.
Yeah, so obviously moving into May, straight off the bat, one of my favorite games of the year, and one that Kim, you didn't get around to playing yet, but I was super excited for it coming out, and I was happy with the game that we got, and that was State of Decay 2, another Xbox exclusive for another pillar of the Game Pass. And yeah, this is it's a fun twist on, like, seeing as we're inundated with zombie games, to actually have a game which is sort of focused on trying to rebuild a little community and go out and do sort of scavenger hunts, not scavenger hunts, but like go out and find like a bullet in a dead man and that sort of thing. No, it's you're going out and you're finding supplies, and the fact that it feels like constant risk every time you step out your little base to go out and get like supplies and whatnot that you may not make it back, and every time you lose a character is truly heartbreaking. The only downside I had to this latest edition, though, was the zombie hearts, which are these stupid base things, and you just constantly find yourself being swarmed. And it seems that they've replaced the supply drops from the original game, and the fact that we've always had this one element where no matter what you do, you're always swamped by zombies as you're trying to do it, and the game insists that you're going to do it. So that was a little frustrating, but no, certainly as a game, I really enjoyed it, and definitely one that's worth having the Game Pass for, just to check out for yourself. Again, May, lots more re-releases, lots more collections coming out.
Yeah.
Detroit Become Human came out obviously in May, a game that lots of excitement about, and it's kind of sunk without a trace since, and I don't know why we're not sort of talking about it more, because
I think it's just because after that point we entered E3, and then there was a lot of new games to talk about, upcoming titles, and then as we see the end of the year, there's a lot of other titles to get excited about as well. So it kind of came at this really busy time where we were already swamped with our own stuff. Seeing as, we did cover Omen Sight, which came out in May, a game that I was really excited to play, but it fell a little short for my expectations for that one. I think it kind of sums up the year. A lot of things I was excited about turned out to be slightly disappointing.
Yeah, it was very much a cappuccino year for a lot of titles, a lot of froth and not much coffee.
Yeah, and then May also had like the remaster of Dark Souls. Your favorite game in the world.
God. I think if we're gonna get excited about a re-release in May, though, I think hands down it has to be the Little Nightmares Complete Collection for the Nintendo Switch. Little Nightmares, it was like one of our favorite games last year, and the fact it's now on the Switch, I just want more people to play this game because it's so beautiful to look at. It's so creepy, and it's so unlike anything else.
And I actually dread. I haven't gone back to play like the DLCs because I'm kind of dreading that world that it's in. It's so amazing, but it's so creepy, but so wonderful at the same time. I don't know what twisted things are gonna happen, and I'm just kind of like, I have to get back to doing that. And I really miss Little Nightmares. I've been thinking about going back to play that game lately. Other than that, we also had a really long time, I guess it was in production for a pretty long time because it got funded on Kickstarter, and that was Agony, which had a lot of people really excited because it was set in hell. You're a dude that gets stuck in hell and you have to try and get out, I think.
Can I just establish who the people they're excited for? Is this just like the angry teens that were excited for Agony? Because I saw like that 5 minutes of gameplay, and it was sort of like, oh, isn't this like the most freakiest game ever? And I was like, no, just go away.
No, but then you watch because I did watch someone play the demo before, and the demo looked really interesting because of like the mechanics that they had. But it turns out that as I watched because I don't play games like that, but I watched someone play it, and I was looking at it, and it's this really aggravating and really frustratingly like a game that doesn't seem to last, doesn't have that, like it's a concept that works for 10 minutes but not for like 4 hours. There's a lot of like running back and forth and doing things and not a whole lot happening.
It's basically the problem with Agony. It's basically the 8-year-old who chews with his mouth open, and just so it gets a rise out of you. It's like, oh, look how disgusting and shocking I am, and then it's like, oh, wait a minute, I forgot to actually put a game in here. And you look at all the juvenile sort of gore and antics and stuff, and you're thinking, God, for the price I paid for this, I could, buy maybe a nice Clive Barker box set or something, and just like have something enjoyable for my money rather than this shiny coaster that I've now got. No, Agony was just it was I thought it was garbage when they saw the trailer, and I was reassured when it would turn out to be garbage when it came out. So, but what was really great though was the Street Fighter 30th anniversary collection. All the games from Street Fighter 1, that forgotten arcade classic, right all the way up to Street Fighter 4. If you got the PS4 and the Xbox One edition, really super nice collection. And you got like I can't believe how many games they crammed onto one disc, and the fact that for each one it was like the best quality game you could get for it. So we got a lot of arcade quality games on there, especially with like the Street Fighter 2 edition. So I was super excited because obviously as a kid I spent far too much time playing Street Fighter 2. So to have a decent version now for the Switch on, as well as like the Xbox and stuff, it's really nice, and it's a fun game because unlike a lot of modern fighting games, it has that pick up and play ability, which I think we've kind of lost now, in the fact that everything's now like 500 button combos, and I'm getting older and the fingers don't move that fast, and unless I train like a spider to do the top button, it's not going to happen.
So yeah, moving into June. Obviously, like most gaming channels and gaming podcasts and gaming anything, most of us spent E3 speculating E3, and then E3 happened, and then we did a whole lot of wrap-up games and then wrap-up chats and speculations for the next year and what we were exciting about, what we're anticipating. E3 was a big highlight, so it really felt like a blur in June. So as I look back into June, I did try out the weekend trial for Onrush, which is this really kind of like fun, I don't know, fast-paced, adrenaline-rushing game where the goal is to bump, like to kill, to get to like just go through your course, but you also have to like kind of destroy other cars, and it's not a problem if you do that. It's like this big open world. There's like this track. It's a really satisfying experience, and I'm kind of disappointed that it hasn't gotten as much notice, but I think that has to do with the fact that there were so many other arcade racing games that came out during the year. Hopefully now with both, I believe, Games for Gold and I don't know if Games for Gold had it, but I know PS Plus free games for December has Onrush. So hopefully that will bring a whole new audience to it. We also saw Vampire came out, which is a new Don't Not title. We haven't gotten around to it. Unravel 2 got released for E3, which is something that obviously we're a big fan of because Unravel was our kickoff episode. So, I'm really interested in seeing how the co-op works, and hopefully we'll be able to co-op that game as well. Yeah. When we actually get money and buy it.
Well, I mean, Unravel 2, that was a surprise straight off the back because we go into E3 and we open obviously with the EA Games Night, and they got the usual sports games and whatnot. And then it's like Unravel 2, and it's like, what the hell? This game which we launched ourselves with.
And then the messaging happens right away between us, and we're like...
I think E3 is always E3 is always a highlight of the year. Even if it sucks, it's just so much fun to go to E3 and to cover it.
Yeah, I mean, we had Unravel 2. Yeah, we had Unravel 2 got really got announced, and then out of the blue we got the Awesome Adventures of Captain Spirit, which was announced, and it was free. That was two super highlights of E3 for us, obviously. And I got to play Shape of the World that month in June as well, which I was really happy about. You didn't end up playing it, but I mean, it's kind of like a really soothing, psychedelic experience as you climb up a mountain and do all these things. And it's like a hike through a psychedelic world. It's really, really cool. I have the review up on the blog and on That Moment In, so I'll put the link in the description below. So what games caught your attention in June? Any other games?
In June, obviously, Fortnite came out, this game which has now dominated all video gaming, it seems, in the fact that now all games are now Battle Royale games. And it was interesting because obviously up until that point, Battlegrounds Unknown was sort of like the Battle Royale game of choice, and then Fortnite comes along, and it was bizarre because it came out at E3, they showed this trailer, and I don't think anyone paid any attention to it, and it was sort of like the month after it suddenly becomes the game everybody wants to play, and then now it's like this big cultural phenomenon, this Overwatch shaded sort of game, and yeah, I mean, I love Fortnite Battle Royale. I think it's a really fun game. I love the fact that the free game, this Battle Royale game, has overtaken the actual game itself, the one that you're supposed to pay for. So they're kind of clawing their money back in microtransactions, but Fortnite's definitely been, I think it's been one of the standout titles of the year. On a sort of more under the radar note, Jurassic World Evolution has slowly been gaining its cult appeal. I know Jeff Goldblum's been going out of his way to promote the hell out of that game. But yeah, if you ever wanted a sim game where you get to build your own Jurassic Park, then that's one for you, definitely. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how they build that one up.
I just remembered as I was looking through the list of releases that the reason why Onrush didn't pick up its following could have been because at the end of the year, The Crew 2 came out. And that kind of probably wiped it out.
Yeah, Crew 2, another fun racing game. Really great in the fact that with The Crew 2, you now have more variety of vehicles to play around with. You got planes and boats and cars and trucks, and you have all of these fun things to cruise around this huge sandbox in.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Forza Horizon 4 came out this year and sort of smashed it to bits. So it was nice while it lasted.
It was really it was the arcade racing year or something, because we ended up playing a lot of racing games if we think back to the year. I mean, we'll do a big recap at the end on what games and whatnot. But I mean, other than that, I think two more titles that I would talk about is that I had seen Anamorphine at Montreal Comic Con and all kinds of different games, and I played the demo about 20 times. And then it finally got its release in June. I haven't played it yet because it's a pretty interesting story, but it is still a walking sim. As you go through the story of I'm not sure if it's a man who pieces together, you see the story of his wife and whatnot and all that sort of things that happen. And then there was one that I only saw the trailer for and I recently picked up, and that was The Infectious Madness of Dr. Dekker. And that looks like a really intriguing game. It's kind of very psychological thriller style. So maybe we'll talk about that more when we actually play it. But then, I mean, moving after E3, we always have a quiet quarter after that. So July, August, September was fairly quiet. Except for, I think, the only title that I thought stood out was probably Life is Strange 2, Episode 1 came out. Episode 2 has yet to be announced, though.
Yeah, the problem is it's always that sort of low, because obviously E3 comes and it's like this huge experience and this manic week, and then it's sort of like you have this bit of a crash out. It's sort of like you have this bit of sugar crash.
But I think it's nice, mostly for us, because we need time to recuperate a little and work on all those things that we missed out during that month that happened.
I think so, especially after the Ubisoft yearly party that is their conference. And certainly, I think Ubisoft did this year. I mean, obviously, Alicia wasn't back again to host the Ubisoft conference, but it was still a really great conference. PlayStation made some interesting choices with how they ran their conference, and Xbox obviously came out sort of doing the shock and awe tactics again. Looking ahead to sort of 2019, though, I mean, it's going to be a very different conference. I mean, Nintendo, I don't think, are going to be there. Or if they do, they're going to phone it in. PlayStation have pulled out, which has got a lot of rumors about whether we're going to see the PlayStation 5 at 2020. And when I obviously hear the announcement for PlayStation 5, it just makes me wish that Xbox had stuck with the number thing. So we had Xbox, then 360, then 720, and then we'd be on 1080, not Xbox One, Xbox Two.
And then right now we cue the Big Bang Theory joke segment.
It's so like why Xbox One? It now means we're gonna go Xbox Two, and it feels like a really disjointed saga we're in the middle of. So, but no, July, September, there are some good stuff in there. I mean, Sonic Mania Plus came out and trashed Sonic Forces. Right. So the little indie title that could, Sonic Mania Plus, I think it reminded them once again that when we have a Sonic game, we want a Sonic game like we had on the Genesis. We don't want 3D World and all this other gumph and that they keep trying to cram onto the new one. We also saw the community create in their own heads, even though it was just really a bit of a mistake, a female niece for Dr. Robotnik called Eggette, which spawned so much cool fan art, and I'm really going to be unsurprised if she doesn't become canon by the time they get onto making a sequel to Sonic Mania, because it's just so cool, the little design of her in their own little egg ship. So
right, and then in August we actually got Overcooked 2 as well, and Dead Cells finally got their full release, which is really fun. Okami got its Switch port, which is always fun. If you haven't played Okami, you should definitely do that. And one of the titles we were super anticipating was We Happy Few, and that got released in August as well. And I'm just going to direct you over to our review of that, because I don't want to talk about it anymore.
Yeah, August we also saw 2 Point Hospital, which is essentially a remake of Theme Hospital, and really fun game, worth picking up. I mean, obviously we saw Walking Dead have its final season, and also got the announcement of the closure of Telltale Games. The titan that they are has fallen, it would seem.
Yeah, and the saddest part of, I'm not really as disappointed about Telltale's closing as the fact that their closing means A Wolf Among Us Season 2 doesn't get to happen. But I mean, an exciting title that got released was Guacamelee 2, which we really loved Guacamelee. So that was a really, really exciting title to come out. I mean, it was just released. I think it had its first trailer in E3, and then it got its release date in August, which was really fun.
Obviously takes us now into September. This was really a year, there was a lot of really fun independent titles, such as Wasteland 2's Director's Cut, got released on the Nintendo Switch. Really fun title, and one that you can play through Xbox Game Pass. And definitely, if you were like a fan of the original Fallout games, this is a real throwback to those games, and one that's definitely worth checking out. And one I certainly had a lot of fun with.
And then, obviously, one of the big titles, one that did really well, and one that probably didn't do too well, I think, was Destiny 2 Forsaken didn't do too well, I don't think. I'm not sure. I haven't heard much of it. Destiny 2 kind of comes and goes now without much impact. And then Marvel Spider-Man got, I think, quite some good
Marvel
reviews.
Spider-Man has just been this absolute monster title for PlayStation. The fact that it's never gone down in price since it's been released, a little frustrating, especially with Christmas coming up. The fact that you can't really add a £54 game title to your wish list. More so because if someone buys it, you just feel absolutely awful. but at the same time, you're happy you have Spider-Man, so
yeah. And then there was also Shadow of the Tomb Raider, which was a really big title that we were super excited about, and that one got pretty decent reviews also, I think.
It's definitely in the top 10s of a lot of people's games of the year, rounding out the Origin trilogy for Lara Croft. It's going to be interesting to see where it goes now, especially now Rhiannon Patrick, who obviously did the first 2 games, is now fully left of the project. There's no writing there left at all, so how it's going to go from here, it's going to be really interesting. I mean, obviously we saw what happened to Metal Gear Solid once Kojima left the project, and they brought out Metal Gear Survive, which was just awful. And so it's going to be really interesting to obviously see where they go next now they've spent all this time rebooting the character.
Yeah, I mean, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, I went to go listen to the conference of it at Montreal Comic-Con, and in that conference we actually have it was mostly a French conference, so if you don't understand French, I can't help you. But yeah, the story they talked about was that it was drafted only to be a trilogy. So now it's really the question as to, they do have that space to keep going on, but what direction will they take, right? And that's going to be interesting to see. I mean, Lara Croft has gotten some pretty iffy titles in the past, so I'm hoping that they keep it up, because I mean, they do have a really good system going and a really nice engine that goes with it right now for Eidos. So it'll be interesting to see where they're going to take it from there. Obviously, Elijah Wood's big project came out, Transference.
Yeah, we played the demo of that. That was again on the channel. You can read that on both the blog and thatmundi.com. Transference is one of those titles which I think has been really designed as a 3D title, and yet you can obviously still play it as a normal 2D title. But I like the concept. I think I need to get into the full game to see how this is going to play. But the demo was interesting, and I think anytime Elijah Wood's associated with horror, interesting things happen. So it's going to be. It's one that I definitely want to sort of get back into at some point, but at the same time, it's one that I'm just not rushing back to.
I think the deal was that the demo was too short to really get a feel of the game, because what they were able to show was kind of like you get a really small idea, and a lot of it felt like it was just walking around and triggering things. It didn't feel like it was as immersive as, I guess, in PSVR it would have changed it, right? In the VR experience, everything that changes around you is very, in touch with you because you're in that world. But because we're playing not in a VR world, I guess that's why maybe it's a little bit less impressive. I feel like that's the reason behind it. I mean, there was a lot of indie games that got released, a lot of I think there was quite a bit of re-releases, a lot of ports. But I think one of the games that is from a Montreal studio, which is most of the games I get access to now, so is The Inner Friend, which I tried the demo for I think 2 of the levels, for 2 of the bosses, and it's nice. It's kind of like a walking simulator with a bit of a chase sequence. There's some puzzles in it. It's about a little boy, and he goes through different worlds, and it kind of like pieces together this sort of story of his. It's an interesting experience. I do encourage that if you haven't seen it to go kind of check that out. We also had 60 Parsecs, which we recently reviewed, and then also a title that was announced at E3 was The Gardens Between, which is a time element sort of puzzle game about siblings moving through a world or something. And then moving into October.
This is where all the gold is at the end of the rainbow in October. As you spend all year like saying, these games are coming out, you're just going to hang on to the end of the year to get your grubby paws on them. And hopefully you got your pennies in a bunch, because this year got expensive real quick. Horizon 4 kicked off the year. Well, kicked off the month, should I say. Obviously...
kicked off the year. that was your highlight. You just told and revealed that was your highlight.
Yeah,
of the year.
One of the highlights of the year. I mean, certainly the fact that we got a AAA title for free a week after release through Game Pass. The only thing that wasn't so great in this is the fact that you have to spend half a day downloading the thing off Game Pass. But no, Horizon 4 was just so much fun. Another great addition to the Horizon series. Really fun to burn around Scotland and see Scottish things. And I had a lot of people saying, "Oh, it's like raining in summer," and it's like, no, that's just British summer. So like, yeah, they're really nice sandbox to sort of go around. Really cool sort of set of like missions and challenges for you to complete throughout, and huge range of cars as well to do it. And I've had a lot of fun with Horizon 4. And Kim, I mean, did you enjoy Horizon 4?
Well, I think we both gave it like a 5 or something for the game. That's so okay. I think we both enjoyed it fairly a lot. It's definitely something that I had a lot of fun with. One of the games, I think one of the biggest titles that came out also on the side of Ubisoft would be Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which now takes you to Greece. And it was kind of a title that kind of snuck in out of nowhere, because people weren't really expecting that Assassin's Creed Origins came out the year before and then Odyssey would come out so quick after. Ubisoft has had pretty bad track record in the past when they started releasing games, Assassin's Creed games, one year after the next. But it seems like this game is doing fairly well. The fact that, you can choose to play a lady or a man is a very interesting perk to it as well, obviously. And, one of the titles that snuck under the radar for us, which we really just noticed came out, was Soul Calibur 6.
So much so that we completely forgot to check it come out in the shop. But no, Soul Calibur 6, a lot of good praise coming out for Soul Calibur 6, mainly because it's taking the game back a couple of steps. The problem we always had with Soul Calibur is the fact that Soul Calibur 4 was so good that it kind of made Soul Calibur 5 pointless. So the fact that they've managed to give us something to be excited to begin with Soul Calibur 6 is really exciting. Obviously, The Witcher being the guest star of this year's game, which kind of made a little more sense than number 4, where we had Yoda and Darth Vader as our special guest characters. Another big title released for October was Call of Duty Black Ops 4. Controversial title is in the fact it did away with story mode and instead just gave us Battle Royale mode, because, as we said already, Fortnite made money, so now every game has to be a Battle Royale game. Really can't wait for that trend to end.
Well, I mean, another game that you were really excited about was Space Hulk Tactics. I'm not sure if the review is up on the site yet, but
Space Hulk Tactics is great, and it's a real throwback to like classic games like Space Crusade on the Amiga, and it really captures, in the same way that Blood Bowl 2 captured the board game version of Blood Bowl. Space Hulk Tactics really sort of captures the game. It's how you would play the board game itself, only obviously with the advantage of you don't have hundreds of little figures to sort of store somewhere. So, but no, I really enjoyed Space Hulk Tactics. The missions do get a little repetitive, but it's nice to be able to mix it up with the Gene Stealers side and have a different style of gameplay there. But yeah, one definitely worth checking out. Also in October, Nintendo decided that they wanted a license to print money and brought out Starlink Battle for Atlas. This is a game which we were excited about because you get to play as Fox McCloud with his R-Wing as like the ship that comes with the game, but the selling point of Starlink being that you can buy little ships and pilots and guns and stuff, and you clip it all together and then you can put that into the game. It's a really cool idea. The problem obviously being that you're going to be paying the price of the game just to get another ship set up. So if you're going for pilot ship and guns, you're going to be paying the same price you paid for the game just to have a little plastic ship. But, you know.
Well, for the hardcore fans, right? But then, I mean, Switch also had some really nice ports. They got Tricky Towers released. And then there was The World Ends With You was on there as well. Valkyria Chronicles was there. The Room, which is a game that I reviewed. Yeah, and then Dark Souls Remastered also made it on there. Is
it a good idea to put Dark Souls on a console that can be thrown across the room?
And then you're just gonna throw it. No. Screw you! Yeah. And then I think one of the biggest titles we have to talk about is probably Red Dead Redemption 2. Which has a lot of the people we know who bought the game.
I mean, Red Dead Redemption 2, I think we all knew it was going to be a big game when it came out. The fact that it's lived up to its reputation, I mean, it was Rockstar Games, so I think there was no sort of doubt that it was going to be a big game coming out, and much less that it was going to be a good game coming out. Obviously, it has made it an absolute pain in the ass when you're trying to get any work done with certain people who are just still hooked on this bloody game. And I'd like say that they're too busy to do things. We can see they're online playing Red Dead. So, we see you. But yeah, it's the only obviously problem with Red Dead Redemption 2 obviously being the huge game file that you have to download for it. So, definitely make some space in your console for that one.
Yeah, and then we're nearing the end of the year. So, moving into November. I have to laugh a little as I see the first title on this game that was released. Was The Quiet Man, which you predicted would look real bad, and it turned out that the reviews are fairly negative on Steam, at least.
I think November, much like the month, has been full of a bit too much doom and gloom for this one. As obviously Fallout 76 announced at E3, supposed to be this huge game, and this title that was going to do exciting things to the series has basically come out and become one of the most expensive coasters in your house, as it's just failed hard. And I think as soon as they announced the fact that this is going to be a player-only world, so there's no NPCs, which means that it's a beautiful world, but it's also a dead world. And you spend a lot of time wandering around looking for people to talk to, and they depending on how sociable they are, they either shoot you or they complain that you're not too far in the quest and stuff. So Fallout 76 has just suffered a lot of problems. I want to say now that this is going to be one to watch. I think like No Man's Sky and other sort of titles, similar sort of titles, that I think we're going to go into next year and they're going to find a way to fix it somehow. Maybe add some NPCs, because at the moment it needs something. The game itself is good, but the mechanics are just broken right now, and a lot of people are very disappointed the fact that they got this as a day one release and it's not been the Fallout experience that they're used to, that they've got so used to with like the previous games, like from Fallout 4 through to like New Vegas and Fallout 5. So yeah, I think they're gonna have to do something special with this. As of yet, what? I have no idea.
Yeah, well, I think it's just the idea that like how long it takes for them to pull it all together, right? Because sometimes it's the longer you wait and the longer wait time, people have already put down the game and moved on to something else. I mean, AAA games, open world games, they come out like all the time, every month. You know, like look, we're going through the list. Every single month there's some kind of AAA game, some kind of open world game that you can move on to. As much as, you know, as much as people love multiplayer experiences and such, I think that Bethesda did really well with their single player experiences, and moving away from that is gonna take time to find a way to
definitely
find that
so.
balance.
I mean, there's been some. It hasn't obviously been all doom and gloom. I mean, obviously Hitman Season 2 came out in start of November. We also saw Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee as Nintendo continued to find ways to print money, especially with the cost of the Pokeball. A really cool peripheral, but that's going to cost you.
Yeah, and then I got to try out the weekend trial. I caught the weekend trial for Tetris Effect. Big fan of Tetris here, and I actually thought Tetris Effect was kind of like really cool experience. It was kind of disappointing when it ended. There are some really nice challenges to it. It is still Tetris, but it has this like really like visually stunning sort of music and in the background going on, and it's really interesting to play. I just think the price tag is a little high at like $50 or something. For Tetris, that's kind of expensive. But yeah, and then Bendy and the Ink Machine finally got its full release in November as well. That was a game in the indie scene, which got a lot of hype, mostly because of its art style. How it kind of had this like old school Disney sort of animation style to it, and it was about, you know, like it was just this like little story that went on, an episodic story. There was I think it had to hit its rough patch a few times, because there was like one episode had too many fetch quests, and then one episode had a lot of other stuff, and it was kind of like a wild ride through a lot of it. But it's one that I'm not sure. Like, I think it really shows creativity, but I'm not rushing to play it right now because there's still fairly mixed reviews on it.
And also we saw the release of Battlefield 5, following on from Battlefield 1, which was absolutely wonderful to see the Battlefield franchise now move on to World War II. It's obviously it's got its fans, Battlefield 5, even though I constantly hear people whining about it, but that seems to be the case whenever a new Black Ops or Call of Duty game comes out or Battlefield games out. There's always someone whining about it. So I don't know. I think if you're going to buy Battlefield, you're going to buy Battlefield. I mean, no matter what we say. So, it's one I'm going to look at if I finally ever give up Battlefield 1.
Into December. The biggest announcement probably was that the PlayStation Classic console got launched on December 3rd. There's no reason to not like this, mostly because, I mean, if you were a fan of the SNES or whatever that got released and such, then, you know, you're probably in the market to get this, to play some PlayStation Classic games. Me, I'm not as excited, mostly because I still have a console, a functioning PlayStation 2 console that plays PlayStation 1 games. So I can still play a lot of the games for myself, as long as I have it, obviously. I ended up trying out the PlayStation Dancing, the Persona Dancing, which was Dancing in Moonlight and Dancing in Starlight, which was like PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 5. That was interesting. I think it's not my type of rhythm game. It's not, I feel like some parts of it didn't work so well. Not sure how it would work in a long-term sort of experience. And then,
yeah, and sort of rounding out the year, we've obviously had Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, which, again, it is Smash Brothers. I think, again, you're either going to, like, when we saw Mario Party released earlier in the year, you're either going to buy it or you're not going to buy it. It's more of the same, more bizarre cameos and stuff, so.
Yeah, so I mean, the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, the hook for this one was the fact that they're getting every single character that was released in all the previous games to be in this one. So pretty much there's a whole lot of time you're going to throw into unlocking all these characters. Which, you know, if you're into this sort of thing, it's definitely going to be a fun little combat game and have some party time with your friends and such. It's interesting.
That's in December. I mean, there are also obviously a few indie titles here and there in the year. Ark Survival Evolved got its Nintendo Switch release.
Yeah.
And obviously we've got Mutant Year Zero.
Yeah, Nintendo Switch also got its Gear Club Unlimited 2, which is a racing game. Since we've been so excited about racing games, might as well talk about that. Firewatch also got ported to Switch.
Which is good. I think Firewatch is another good title to move on to Switch. I think it suits what the Switch can do. And I know we had a lot of fun with Firewatch when we visited it. Sort of like months after everyone else had been through it. And, you know, there was a lot of talk of leaving the video game review world to go and hang out in a fire tower and just hang out in the wilderness.
You'll do some hiking and, you know.
It's all like... I don't know if it passes for exercise if you go and play Firewatch. It's like, see, I'm doing exercise, I'm wandering around the wilderness. But surprisingly, we didn't really have any walking simulators 2018, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, we didn't. I think that a lot of it is in the indie area, and we didn't really cover a lot of that. But I think in 2019 we have a lot more. I think we have a few walking simulators coming up, which is going to be interesting. I mean, obviously, the Firewatch team is supposed to have In the Valley of the Gods come out next year, I think. I don't think any official date is set yet, but I think they're aiming for next year. So that could be interesting. Maybe it'll be in walking simulator kind of sort of style. But I mean, walking simulators are fun. We've played a few that are very interesting. But obviously, like it's not like our criteria or anything. So I mean, before we wrap up the entire year in review, if you were to pick your favorite game of the year, what would it be?
If we're just talking about the 2018 titles, then it is going to be Forza Horizon 4. That was probably my sort of highlight of the year.
Okay, and if it was a game that you missed out but was released in 2018, which would it be?
There's so many. I really want to play Spider-Man, and I really want to play Red Dead 2. I obviously Darksiders 3 came out as well recently, and that looks really cool as well. So those are sort of like the main ones that sort of like come back to me, and then everything else is sort of like, oh, I really want to play like a remastered version of Devil May Cry or something like that. So
right.
What about yourself, Kim?
Right. So so for me, I think my favorite game of 2018, I'm kind of torn between, I think it would be either Shape of the World, I had a lot of fun with, but I'm not sure if that's my favorite game of the year. I think it might be 39 Days to Mars. I haven't finished it yet, but I had a lot of fun playing it. Having a lot of fun playing it, actually. It's
okay.
Present tense.
And something you still want to play?
Yeah. And something that I still want to play. I have a few, so since you said 3, I'm going to say 3. Shadow of the Tomb Raider is my AAA title. And then Soul Calibur 6 would definitely be one. And then my last title would have to be Overcooked 2.
Yeah, Overcooked 2. I mean, I got my hands on Overcooked 1 through the Games with Gold this year, and super fun game. And I'm looking forward to playing that on Boxing Day when I get the relatives round and we have a few sherries. To see them trying to do that and see what happens. Overcooked 2, obviously, again, it's more of the same. Obviously, this time you have the ability to throw plates, which is pretty cool. And I think it's a game that's best played if you've got a friend. Because if you're switching between characters...
Yeah, a friend or three. A friend or three. That might be fun.
Super imaginative game. And super colourful, super fun. And who doesn't want to play as a raccoon in a wheelchair? That's the coolest character. And I didn't even know that was the sort of character I wanted to play. I was like... Oh, I was looking at the characters. It's like, oh, I'll be like the little cat chef. I think that'd be pretty cool. And then
I've been the cat chef. I've been the dino chef. I've been like I like all these like weird random cutesy
it's
ones.
just how frenzied they are whenever they do anything. It's just like everything has to be smashed to bits. So.
It's really a test of your friendship and communication at that point. When you play with friends, you better be playing with someone that you know really well, that if you yell at them, they're not going to be angry at you because they know you very well.
Cool. Well, this obviously wrapped up 2018 in review here for ourselves here at Game Warp. Thank you obviously for listening, and obviously thank you to my co-host Kim.
Thank you. Another great year together, working together, right? Because I think this is going to be our last episode of 2018 before we head into 2019, and everybody's going to have to look forward to our, anticipated games, and we're going to talk about 2019 and what we're looking forward to. Obviously, we might actually talk about some of the Game Awards, which is going to have happened by the time this goes up.
Because, I mean, we got the Game Awards, we got... coming out, and there's a lot of anticipation of things coming out. We've got Kojima apparently is working on an Alien title called Blackout, which is being tipped to be revealed there, and we've got potential that we may see a sneak of the PlayStation 5 as well. So a lot of exciting things coming out, and I'm excited to obviously see what happens and play more games. That's what I'm excited about. Just hanging out and playing more games together and stuff. That's always a highlight.
Now that all of our 2018 problems are behind us, fingers crossed, knock on all kinds of woods. And then now we're gonna be now we're getting ready. We're setting up for 2019, and we have some really cool games lined up. So it's gonna be a fun year. And then so this wraps up this episode. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and subscribe. Head over to our home base, thatmomentin.com, to read gaming reviews, or you can check out our blog, gamewarpblog.wordpress.com. You can get gaming news every single day. You can follow us on Twitter and like us on Facebook at Game Warp Podcast. You can also check out our Instagram, where we talk about our gaming obsessions and our gaming snacks and all that sort of thing, the random little thoughts that we have, instagram.com/Game Warp Podcast. And hopefully we'll work out a better streaming schedule than this year. And you can find us on twitch.tv/Game Warp Podcast. Till next time, bye!